Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sarvat Ehsan. I am the Executive Director with the CFA Society Pakistan, and I'd like to welcome you all to this very exciting session on unlocking your potential once you've done your CFA. I'd like to thank Florence Wong, who's the Director of University Relations with the CFA Institute APAC, and I'd like to thank Raza Jafri, who is the Director with the CFA Society Pakistan and a University Chair. And all our guests, Mohammad, Arsalan, Mohammad, Saad, Nayab, Babar, and Bilal who have taken their valuable time out from their work to share their career options with you. So to start off with, let's begin with the housekeeping rules. Today's session is for 1 hour, including Q&A, and all participants are requested to stay muted for the session. Please keep your video switched off, and the Q&A session will be held at the end of the session, but you can post your question through the chat box during the webinar. The session will be recorded and the recording will be shared with you. And at the end, you'll be requested to share with us a feedback form. So thank you. One of the participants says that he cannot hear me. Is that true for everyone? Are you all not? Okay, so I'll try to speak louder. So I'll quickly run you through a few details. To begin with, CFA Institute, is the global body of professionals. It's a not-for-profit institute, and it has 160 presence in 160 countries, almost 200,000 charter holders within the CFA family, and it is considered as the gold standard in investment management industry. CFA Society Pakistan is one of the societies which lies with the CFA Institute, and we are a locally incorporated company registered with the SECP. We have a voluntary board, so once you've done your CFA and you get the charter, you can become part of the society, and then you can be elected to a board of as the board of directors of the society. Raza Jafri is one of the board members, and he's a volunteer who works for the society. We have a lot of focuses, and I will run you through a few of them. So right now, because of course we're talking to students, we run a few challenges for your professional development. There's a research challenge. There is an ethics challenge. We also do career guidance sessions. Right now, you're doing one on Zoom. We have a University Connect series where we, our guest speakers go and visit the universities. Of course, once you join our society, there's a lot of employer outreach and industry events which help you stay relevant and help you with professional development, help you find jobs. So we look forward to you joining the family of CFA charter holders. One last slide from me is the key employers of CFA charter holders. You see, you have multinationals, you have banks, you have regulators, and investment management industry and brokerage houses and banks, all of them, the financial industry, of course, they're all employers of CFA charter holders. So there's a wide market, and our guests here today are also belong to wide walks of life to help you understand how you, after doing your CFA, can help you grow with the career. You can help, we can help you stay connected with us through our Facebook page. We're present on LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. With this, I would like to hand over to our guest, Ms. Florence Wong. Over to you, Florence.
Thank you, Saad. Hello, everyone. I'm Florence. I'm the University Relations Director for Asia Pacific at CFA Institute. So let me share my slides, and I will give you an overview of the CFA program. Of course, as you may know, there are some new changes we just announced yesterday, today. So I'll give you some brief overview of the changes before I pass the time to our guest today to share with you more about the career, the destination, and the local insights before we jump to the Q&A session. Okay, let's start. So as Saad mentioned before, the CFA Institute mission, let me just go and repeat again. So the CFA is the premier organization of investment management professionals. All the work we do is to support our mission statement, which is to lead the investment professions globally by promoting the highest standard of ethics, education, and professional excellence for the ultimate benefit of society. The CFA Charter gives you expertise and real-world skills in investment analysis. you can join more than 190,000 professionals who have been recognized globally in 164 markets for their commitment to ethics and professionalism. We have over 750 universities participating in our university affiliation program, and more than 25,000 firms across the globe employ CFA charter holders. As an aspiring or practicing investment professionals, you need the knowledge and skills to thrive in a highly competitive industry. So the CFA program is designed to equip you with the kind of expertise and real-world skills in investment analysis that will help you advance your career. Whether you are a practicing investment professional, a student, looking for switching careers, or looking to start a career in this field, the CFA program offers ways to move forward and achieve your professional goals. As you can see from these slides, provide an overview of the CFA program benefits. The CFA charter is viewed as a mark of distinction. It provides a strong ethical foundation, which has been at the core of the program since the first exam was given in 1963. And the CFA designation is really a global passport to help your mobility across regions. No matter where you are in the world, you have the credential that is recognized by finance employers and in the industry. I also want to highlight the network you gain as one of the very valuable benefits you will receive. As I mentioned, we have more than 170 local societies around the world that represent and support the local network of investment professionals. Just like today, this session is organized by the CFA Institute with the support of the CFA Society Pakistan. You will also gain access to a broad range of member resources and tools to help you through your journey. The CFA program is a very deep and broad coverage of curriculum. It prepares you for many different job roles, so you broaden your options by taking the CFA program early in your career. So the CFA program is a self-study 3-level program. Each of the 3 exams covers a full range of topics, but with a slightly different focus. At level 1, the focus is on investment tools and focuses on your knowledge and comprehension of different concepts. And move on to level 2, the focus is more on deep dive into valuation and require our candidates to knowledge, to understand and to comprehend. And for level 3, it's more about portfolio analysis. So how do we put together and manage portfolio in order to hit the goals of the client with the risk and constraint? Because the level 3 exam focus on your ability to synthesize and evaluate. And at the core of the curriculum across all 3 levels is ethics and professional standards. As you can see in this circle in green, you will learn best practice for ethical professional behaviors, specifically apply to situation you will encounter in the investment industry. As we all know, trust, transparency, and investment protection is really critical in this industry. So after you pass all 3 levels of the exam, you also need to meet the working experience requirement, which is to acquire 4,000 hours of qualified professional work experience, which really means doing work that is related to the investment management process. You can take a look at the website, which my colleagues will be sharing in the chat box regarding the professional experience, so you can have a better idea of what we are referring to. You may also heard that the CFA exam is a very challenging exam. Is there any tips to pass the exam? Typically, successful candidate will spend about 300 hours studying for each level. And when you become a candidate, you'll receive the study materials, and those are the materials you will need to pass the exam. The CFA program curriculum is the only source material for our exam writers to create questions. And you should also take full advantage of the study tools which are online, are housed in the CFA program learning ecosystem. Before I talk about some new enhancement to the CFA program, definitely you will also like to know the cost of the exam. With an investment of $1,250 US, you can register for the level 1 CFA exam and begin to get the benefits of charter holder status in the job market and at your place of work. There is a one-time enrollment fee of $350 US when you register for the level 1, and each exam administration has 2 price points. Early registration will be $900 US, and then standard registration is $1,200 US. These fees already cover the cost of ebook, study planner, practice test, some more exam, which will be included all in the learning ecosystem. So there are a few types of scholarship for the CFA program. Role-based scholarship, including student scholarship, which are available to students in our affiliated universities, which will waive the program enrollment fee and then the reduced exam registration fees to $350 US. And access scholarships are available through our local societies. This will waive the enrollment fees too, and then reduce the exam registration fees further to $250. You can get full details and learn how to apply for this scholarship on our website. One thing to remember, if you want to get a scholarship, apply before you register for the exam. All scholarships are only eligible for those who haven't yet registered for the CFA program. And to get access to more resources and the information I shared just now, and also the CFA program guidebook, please scan this QR code or get to this website. You will be directed to the page with free resources exclusive to you. Okay, let's move to something even more exciting, the next evolution of the CFA program. Since the introduction of the CFA program back in 1963, it has continually evolved to keep pace with the industry and the needs of the employers and candidates. So we have recently undertaken extensive research with candidates, prospective candidates, and the industry by large to inform 6 new and significant changes to the CFA program. This evolution will help us meet the needs of the industry, employers, and candidates, and will also reinforce our position as one of the most valuable destinations around the globe. So we are delighted to share these 6 updates to the CFA program that will further solidify its role as a premier investment analysis and analyze credential. First one is the eligibility expansion. More relevant to those in universities, actually started in November 2022, we expanded CFA program eligibility for those at universities, allow students to who are 23 months from completing their undergraduate degree to begin their CFA program journey. So we're registering for and sitting for the level 1 exam is a clear signal to employers that students are serious about a career in the investment industry, and completion of the level 1 exam will supply both interns and early career entrants with the foundation knowledge that you need for success. Another changes with this evolution is that we know that most level 1 candidates have already mastered many introductory financial concepts as part of the university studies or in their early career role. So to avoid duplication and to streamline level 1 curriculum content, we have moved some of this content and we provide it separately as reference material or for registered candidates. Topics such as time value of money, basic statistics, microeconomics, introduction to company accounts have been moved to pre-read. So candidates who have not had exposure to this content or who simply wish to review materials during their study of the CFA Level 1 curriculum may access this content as companion pre-read materials at no additional charge. Registered candidates may also use these materials to get a sense of gaps in their knowledge and assess their readiness for the program. Another exciting changes is that the CFA program has been extended to include practical relevant skills training to provide candidates with the on-the-job application of what they're learning in the curriculum. A practical skills module called PSM, which is 10 to 15 hours program, uses a combination of videos, multiple choice questions, guided practice, and case studies to develop candidates' practical skills in topics like Python's financial modeling. The practical skills modules PSM requirement will be added for level 1 candidates beginning the February 2024 exam and for level 2 candidates for the May 2024 exam. In order to receive your exam results, candidates will be required to complete at least 1 PSM at each level. So in 2024, the following modules will be offered: financial modeling, Python programming, fundamentals for level 1, and analyst skills, Python, data science, and AI for level 2. While the pinnacle of the CFA program is becoming a charter holder, we know that you achieved significantly and noteworthy milestone along the journey. That's why we've invested in an improved recognition strategy, including of digital badging to acknowledge candidates' achievement at level 1 and level 2. So the digital badges will be accompanied by marketing and awareness building with employers. We'll have one-click social sharing and other instant verification to employers and colleagues to boost credibility and verify your accomplishments. Completing level 1 and 2 are substantial achievements. You learn skills and experience, and your professionalism and ethical practice provide tangible value to the industry. And that's why we included this recognition in these new changes. To help our candidates make the most of their study time, we are now offering also a level 1 practice pack. This optional practice pack includes 1,000 more practice questions and 6 additional more exams to go with the study materials you currently receive as part of registrations. So CFA Institute mock exams are written by the same teams who write the real exam questions. When you practice this product, you will receive 6 additional exams. They are qualified mock exam, and also with these 6 exams, one of them will be an exam-based simulation using the same software interface and time constraint that you will face on the actual exam day. You will also get 1,000 exam quality practice questions and have access to a level 1 curriculum in the PDF files. We also know the needs of our diversity of program candidates go beyond the buy side. That's why we perform a job role analysis to determine which job role sectors would benefit from specialized pathways. So from 2025 level 3 exams, we will introduce specialized pathways, 2 new versions of level 3 in private wealth and also private markets, while we will be keeping our traditional portfolio management path. So candidates will be able to select a path that teaches content more directly related to their interests and aspirations. The 3 versions will have a common core of curriculum at level 3, supplemented by specialized content for each pathway. So here are some important days to remember. As mentioned, you can register your exam now if you're 23 months less before completing your undergraduate degree. And the deadline for registering for the August level 1 exam is on the 9th of May at a standard registration price of $12,000. And if you'd like to register with the early bird price with the current exam before the enhancement, the deadline for registering for the November exam with the early bird price is the 10th of May. And then if you want to register for the November exam, the deadline will be the 8th of August. And the new enhanced level 1 exam with all the 6 points I mentioned before, besides the eligibility is already up and running, all the changes will take effect on the first level 1 exam in February 2024, and the registration will be open in May 2023. So if you would like to sit for the first enhanced level 1 exam, the registration will be open in May. Otherwise, remember the deadline I mentioned before. So to know more about the details on the involvement of the CFA program I mentioned, I know the time is limited. I cannot elaborate every point very in details, but I would recommend you to visit this website, which will give you all the answers. And of course, I can answer also your question during the Q&A session, but I definitely encourage you to ask our speakers, our guest speakers, more about their inspiration to take the CFA exam, their tips for success, instead of this evolution. I know it will arouse many questions, but trust me, go to the website, save your time for this webinar to ask our distinguished speakers that question more than this kind of about this evolution, because all this factual information will be available online. Thank you, and I will now pass the time to Raza.
Thanks, Florence. Thanks for this. Quickly, as Saad mentioned right at the start, I am a director and a volunteer at the CFA Society Pakistan. In my day job, I'm the head of equities at Intermarket Securities, which is a local brokerage firm. I'm very pleased to be moderating this session again, and we've successfully made it into a recurring feature, and this is part of our effort to add member value and candidate value. And this session is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the YouTube channel of CFA Society Pakistan. So I encourage all of you to share the recording with your colleagues or fellow students who you think will benefit from this. And the reason I mention this is because we've got a great lineup of speakers from a whole host of various industries that you can opt to join, once you're participating in the CFA program or once you've completed it. And certainly, I think it'll be a very useful session for all of our participants. So without further ado, I'm going to turn to our first speaker for the day in terms of the career advice, and I'm going to call upon Saad Ali, who is the Director Research at EFG Hermes, Pakistan. And I've had the pleasure of working with Saad, and I can personally vouch, for his credentials and and what he will have to share with us today. So Saad, I'm going to ask you the first question, and the question is that, of course, if one chooses to pursue the CFA designation, chances are that you will enter the industry or the investment management profession and get your start as a research analyst. And you are heading a team of equity research analysts, of course, at this point in time. Could you tell us what some of the main functions of a research analyst are and what a typical day on the job looks like?
Okay, I hope I'm audible.
You are, yeah.
Thank you, Raza. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. So basically, what a typical analyst job looks like. Well, assuming you've already joined the job, you've been working for a while, you've made financial models, you've initiated coverage on certain companies, you have responsibility of a sector, and you write detailed reports on a regular basis. So assuming you're already in the job, what your typical day would look like. So your day would start early, and it will typically start with you looking at the news from various sources, not just newspapers. You'll go through the internet, you'll go through TV channels, and you'll go through a lot of media to understand what's the news for the day. And for most investment houses, you're typically early in the day, there will be a morning meeting. So you'll be sitting alongside your teammates in the research department and in other departments, where you'll be presenting on what are the news for the day and how those news affect the companies or sectors you cover. So that's typically the start of the day, and it's early before the market opens, and you prepare everyone for that session. During the day, again, you're working with the same information that you gathered in the morning or earlier on. You're either working on your financial models and incorporating that information. You're talking to your clients, your investors. If you're on the sell side, you'd be talking to your clients through phone calls. If you're on the buy side, you'd be engaging with your fund management team. And essentially what you're doing is you're just digesting that information that you gathered either in the morning earlier on, and you're advising these people what to do or how to act on that information. Typically, you will also have client meetings where you'll be going to your clients, presenting either your financial model or a recent report you wrote, presenting investment case on the stocks you cover. But that would be more irregular. It depends on when the client needs that sort of presentation, but that's also part of your daily routine. If you're on the buy side, again, you're presenting to your fund management team. If you're on the sell side, an added skill would be required of you is to write research reports. So they can span either 1 or 2 pages, or they can be detailed, lengthy reports. Depends on the information at hand, or the task at hand. Maybe you're initiating coverage on a new stock, so you would be expected to write a detailed report, and that's also part of your day. So that's how a typical day would look like for an analyst.
Saad, thanks for that. If I were to sort of obviously some of the key takeaways from what you said. So obviously you mentioned that financial modeling, it seems to be important for a research analyst. You mentioned report writing. So these, would you say that, if you were to summarize some of the main functions of a research analyst, would you say that these are 2 of the most important things that the research analyst has to be familiar with, and that is what he or she has to deliver.
Yeah, that's those two are the main outputs. That's what you produce as an analyst. The remainder of your time, is gathering information and trying to use that information in either your financial model or your report. But yes, those two are your major outputs alongside client presentations if you're on the sell side.
Saad, I know, having worked with you, that you've been at places that you work, you're involved in the hiring process as well. And I just want to ask you, how much weight, if any, would you assign to somebody you're interviewing and that person is participating in the CFA program? Does that make it easier to break into the profession? Does that give that candidate an edge? And would you say that an added advantage would be to perhaps having had relevant internships under your belt? Is that an added advantage as well? So two questions. So participation in the program and relevant internship experience. I mean, what do you does that help?
Yeah, the short answer to that is certainly yes, certainly. When we are hiring, when we're hiring fresh graduates, there are 2-3 attributes that we're looking for. One would be knowledge, how much you know financial concepts, accounting, economics, basic to intermediate knowledge of that as well. Personality is another attribute that we look at. Managing someone's money and giving investment wise is serious business. So you would want people to have a very serious and hardworking attitude. And the third thing that we would look for is creativity, how you think, how you process information, and whether you can think innovatively. So a CFA candidate, given that the exam is very challenging, it's demanding, as Florence mentioned earlier on, it sort of gives the information to a potential employer that, one, you've got the right amount of knowledge, at least minimum amount of knowledge that you need for this position. Secondly, you're hardworking, you're dedicated, you're willing to put in time and skill up, and you're serious about your profession. So when a candidate comes to us, and they have either candidates in the CFA program or they've cleared the level 1 exam, that sort of conveys the information that, okay, this is what we're looking for. This person may have those attributes that I mentioned earlier on. Internships, again, it sort of it gives you that knowledge beforehand, how to work as an analyst, what is required of you, what sort of knowledge you must have, and what's the daily routine like. So that also certainly we give credit for, that you are familiar with what you're required to do and what you need to know. And certainly these two will increase the hireability of a candidate.
So final question for you, and I'm sure a lot of our participants would be interested in this, but what does a typical starting salary in Pakistan look like for a research analyst?
It would start around 60,000 rupees, and I want to say that since this is a very demanding and challenging career, this is also very rewarding in terms of not just financially but also intellectually. So you start off at around 60,000, but if you're good at it, if the markets are doing well, you performed well, you can grow very, very fast compared to any other industry.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that. With that, we're going to move to our second guest speaker for today. This is Mohammad Arsalan, who's the fund manager, investment advisory at MCB-Arif, Habib Savings and Investments. And Arsalan, I mean, one of the common, and we just spoke to Saad, and obviously he started off as a research analyst, and one of the common transitions you see in your career in terms of career progression is that the research analyst eventually becomes a fund manager. Saad, of course, had explained what a research analyst is. I'd like you to start off by telling us what a fund manager is and what the role of a fund manager is.
First of all, thanks very much indeed for having me. And a fund manager's job is to invest in and maintain a portfolio of securities on behalf of clients like equity securities and fixed income securities to achieve certain client goals or objectives, like growing their capital or preserving the purchasing power of their investments and or providing a stable source of income. These are the different sorts of objectives that we have. And those objectives are in turn dependent upon a couple of factors, like the client's ability to take risk and his liquidity needs in relation to the portfolio, the time horizon. So these are the different factors on the basis of which we design the objective. Okay, so how my day looks like, we generally start off with the morning meeting where we discuss the relevant information and try to analyze them and determine their impact on the existing and potential investments. And then the market opens and we start trading securities. It's around 6 hours long session. And simultaneously, when the market is slow, we are sometimes reviewing the economy, the different sectors, the different scripts in detail. Sometimes you're responding to client queries and preparing client presentations, etc. So that's what's simultaneously running. And when the market closes, we look at the trades for the day, feed them in the system so that we have updated client positions the next day before market opens. And often we have client meetings after the market closes, and sometimes you're preparing the minutes for the morning meeting. So that's our usual, how our usually our day looks like. That's how it's.
Perfect. Arsalan, are there any specific examples? And I mean, obviously this might be a tricky question, but obviously, some specific examples of where you might have applied the learnings of the CFA program on your job, if you're able to sort of break it down for our young audience.
Well, I think most of what I do is in line with the CFA curriculum, and that's what I enjoy about it. When a new client comes in, we assess the client, for example, his financial strength. We look at the different constraints like the time horizon we have or his liquidity needs, and we look at his objectives. Then we design the investment policy statement, and this is what is one of the key components of the level 3 curriculum under the portfolio management wealth planning section. And when an equity portfolio manager wants to invest, usually he goes top down, like he reviews the economy, then different sectors and then different scripts, and perform financial statement analysis and equity valuation. So these are all the things that you've studied in economics and financial statement analysis and equity valuation topics specifically of the curriculum. So, and when we are trading, we are looking at the impact cost of our trades and matching the trade prices with the volume weighted average prices. So these are all the things everyone must have heard about. Every CFA student must have heard about. And whatever we do, we make sure we are in line with the ethics and professional standards. So there are Chinese walls between different investment teams. You never accept gifts. You never trade in securities or clients are trading in, to avoid even the impression of a potential conflict of interest. So it covers everything. The curriculum covers everything I do.
Perfect. That's very useful. Arsalan, last question for you before I move on to Nayab. And this is a general question. And this is that obviously, since I have mentioned that the audience is fairly young, could you please spend some time in explaining the importance of saving and investing, especially from a young age?
Almost everyone wants to achieve financial security in life, because we are not born with it. Majority is not born with it. And financial security is having enough financial assets to cover your expenses, including expenses leading to emergencies and expenses post-retirement, without running out of money. So for this, you need to be disciplined at saving and wise at investing. And saving alone is not going to be much effective, because inflation erodes the purchasing power. So you have to combine it with wise investing. And if you invest wisely, you're likely to not just preserve the purchasing power of your savings, but grow it eventually. So for someone who's early career professional or people, so he has his high amount of human capital with him, and generally low financial capital. So human capital is the estimated present value of your future earnings. So you have long-term horizon, and you're able to take risks, because if you make huge losses even, you have time to recover those and make more money. So with higher risk generally comes higher return. So people, they say, should invest highly in equities or high risk investments with fundamentals, not cryptocurrencies. So you should be, I think, 100% in equities, and as you age, you can reduce the proportion of equities and increase fixed income if you like. So that's what ideal asset allocation should be like for young people.
Thanks, Arsalan. I think, I mean, obviously, given, high global inflation is not just in Pakistan, but a lot of other markets, I think it just underscores the importance of investing and, preserving your, purchasing power and, trying to fulfill all your goals. So, of course, it's a very important role that you are fulfilling, as a fund manager. With that, I'm going to move on to Nayab Babar, who is an investment partner at VEON. And what do you do, Nayab, as an investment partner? I mean, would love to hear what your role is at your workplace, and what skill sets do you need in your job, and how has the CFA Charter helped you in that respect?
Sure. Thank you so much, Raza and Florence and Sarvat and everyone at the CFA Institutes and CFA Pakistan Society for having us. I think, Raza, that's a great question. And at my job, I've actually worn multiple hats, right? So I've been part of the core investing team, where, we've done a lot of investments in startups in Pakistan as well as abroad, because a lot of my team has historically been, a very global team. So the VEON Group is a large kind of telecom entity operational in 6 or 7 countries at the moment. So our team is fairly global, right? So I've actually done a lot of work in the venture capital space. So we work as a corporate venture arm. So anyone who is familiar with the venture capital can understand that a corporate entity would have, could also have such ambitions. And part of those ambitions are not just investing in strong companies which are independently, very profitable, but also investing in synergistic companies. So, like, for example, if we invest in a company that's doing e-commerce, we can, use some of our fintech products that we have, or use some of our customer base that we have in different countries and continents. Similarly, I've also been involved in the M&A activity in the team. So it's not just minority investments or some strategic investments. It's also like 100% M&As. And thirdly, my role has also been in the strategy function. So when we talk about some of our digital portfolio, when I was talking about fintech and different entities that we have, for example, Jazz Cash in Pakistan, been involved in the strategy function of that, which I'm now much more involved in compared to previous years. So that's, I guess, the first part in kind of like my role. And for the CFA curriculum, I think it's been pretty much instrumental, right? So when you're looking at investments in fintechs or any sort of M&A, you need to understand the valuation methodologies. You need to understand DCFs. You need to understand the multiples and so on and so forth. And you also really need to understand from an accounting perspective, how the company is doing in terms of its financial health, how the company is managing its working capital, and and even the economic environment. So like, you need to understand what are some of the key drivers of the macroeconomy in general. Like, we're in a difficult period right now. So what are some of the drivers? What are some of the fundamental changes that companies should make? So honestly, I would say that in my current role, as well as some of my previous roles, CFA has been fairly instrumental.
Perfect. The follow-up question is, and I'm glad you brought up that you've been involved in startups, including in fintechs, and I'm sure while of course there's a bit of a slowdown in that space currently, I'm sure this is a trend that's here to stay for the world and for Pakistani. So I guess for somebody interested in working for startups, fintechs or otherwise, do you think how important do you think having that that solid finance background that maybe a CFA will bring? I mean, is that very useful, or would you say maybe it's more important to just focus on the dynamics of your startup, or do you think this is something that will help your business? What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Let me answer that in two parts. So the first part, I would say, if you're wearing a venture capitalist's hat, right? So if you're like an investor's hat, so investors, the venture capitalists typically invest a lot in fintechs and in startups, in technology startups. So you need to really understand the fundamentals of finance and valuation and pretty much everything that is covered in level 2 when you're talking about the potential of investment, right? So from a venture capitalist hat, and the venture capitalists work very, very closely with fintechs. Excuse me. So that is a natural knowledge that you definitely require. And so when you talk about working in fintechs, so even that I would like to answer in a couple of parts, right? Because the world is fluid, the career can be very fluid as well. Sure, there are paths which are more straightforward, but even like the CFA curriculum is evolving, right? To ensure that the evolution is also captured, right? So in that sense, even as an investor, I have seen so many investors move on to startups and which eventually become much larger and in the CFO roles. And because even if you're a business, if you're a startup, you still need that typical financial planning, the data analytics, the core finance understanding, and how to see the different patterns and and what kind of drives your economics. Having said that, when we talk about typically startup roles, so let's break down fintech. Fintech is finance and technology, essentially, right? Partnership of finance and technology. It's solving financial problems through the use of technology. So technology skills are actually at the forefront, at the fundamental. When you even CFA curriculum is now evolving to incorporate that, like for example, Python and data science and things of that nature. So you definitely need a deeper understanding of the tech side to be good at fintech. But that's not the all-encompassing answer, right? So like for example, even in fintechs, they are at the end of the day normal businesses. So you do need strong financial arms in the fintech as well. And you need people who have product experience, who have marketing experience. So you need all sort of people in that company. And there is definitely a part for finance. I wouldn't say having a CFA is essential, but having that experience coupled with CFA can be an extremely important driver when you work in a fintech, because you're adding a lot of value coming from a different skill set, different mindset to the typical startup experience. I'll just add one more thing to that, sorry, because even in fintechs, they constantly require fundraising, right? So if I need to fundraise for my Series A, Series B, I still need to know what the fundamentals of finance and business are. So that actually does help a lot. You need one person like that.
100%, Nayab, fully agreed. Last question for you, and very quickly. And I think I'm not wrong in assuming you're not based in Karachi, you're based in Islamabad these days, right? And I think I wanted to ask you, most of the finance jobs and jobs in the investment management industry in Pakistan tend to be concentrated in Karachi. But do you think that's changing now? I mean, is this maybe because of remote work, or maybe the different, for instance, startups that are coming up all across Pakistan? I mean, do you think this is changing? And if so, where do you think the opportunities lie outside of Karachi?
Absolutely. So I think Karachi will remain the hub of investment banking and especially investment management, right? So I don't think investment management is changing anytime soon when you talk about that side of things. However, when we talk about investment banking, consulting, venture capital, private equity, I've seen, in my experience, it's a lot more dispersed. So we say KLI, Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. So Lahore and Islamabad also have a significant derivation of value for CFA charter holders. Let me give some examples, right? So you have consultancies, the different types of transaction advisors. You have sure, you have the top lines and the BMAs and so on in Karachi, but you also have Bridge Factors, Park China in, for example, Islamabad. Then even your large corporates, even they have investment arms, right? So sure, you would have Angro Investments in Karachi, but similarly, you would also have like a Jazz in M&A team. You would also have like a Safra Group or so on and so forth. So it's actually, when you talk about breadth and depth of experience and requirement of CFA chart holders, that's definitely still the case. It's increasing that you have these options. And thirdly, you have these investment arms, right? Like venture capitalists, like DOSI Capital, Sarmaya Car, and there's Fatma Gobi, and they have offices all across Pakistan. And a lot of these are actually concentrated in Lahore and Islamabad. So there's actually coming up now, there's a wealth of opportunity, and obviously fintechs as well. If anyone is familiar with the fintech landscape, the startup landscape, if you go to these conferences like Disrupt and so on, you would understand that this is very dispersed, more so in the big 3 cities, but also there's plenty of interesting startups out of other cities as well.
Thanks so much, Nayab. With that, I'm going to move to Bilal, who's been waiting very patiently, I'm sure. And Bilal, there's a reason I kept you, as the last sort of guest speaker, and that's because, you operate in an industry that's typically not associated with CFA charter holders, right? I mean, we've talked about equity research, we've talked about fund management, we've talked about, startups and investment banking and fintech. You're working as the head of performance management at Unilever, North Africa and Levant. And so I want to know, I mean, obviously, as I just mentioned, it's not commonly associated with the CFA and the investment industry. So how have you been able to utilize the learnings of the CFA program in your job and role?
First of all, thank you so much, Raza and team, for having me here. And hello, everyone. So I think there is a general misconception about FMCG industry not being relevant to CFA. I think it is as relevant as any other industry if we look into it from the lens of finance. So as you know that throughout the value chain of FMCG industry, financial analysis is required or is happening to make the investment decisions or to take the decisions to create value for the organization. So for example, from buying the commodities, when we are buying the commodities, we are hedging risk using derivatives, which is something which we study in CFA curriculum. Going on, when we are expanding, when we are making capital expenditures, buying machineries, we are performing valuations and ROI calculations and PV analysis, IRR analysis on that, which is again something which is relevant to CFA or which we are studying in CFA. Moving forward, when we are introducing a new product or an innovation, we are doing the market sizing, economic analysis, consumer trend analysis, and then making business cases of that NPV, IRR. What will it hold for us? Should we do it? What will maximize the ROI for the shareholders or not? Again, this is all something which we study in CFA. And from buying the material to making it, to manufacturing it, to lending it in the market, to increasing the ROIs of our partners, not only us, but the partners as well, and to coming up with the business models and evaluating different business models to find out which business model is more profitable and which would add more to the value of the company, and also to the M&As, mergers and acquisitions globally happening. I think CFA is knowledge is really embedded across value chain in all the roles which we do. So far, sharing my example, I have done about 8 roles in Unilever. And in all of those 8 roles, I think there was some part of CFA curriculum which I was able to apply and which I was able to use, and due to which I was able to create a difference or get an edge over others in that performance. So yeah, in short, it is, I think, very, very relevant at every stage of value chain.
I think just to carry forward that chain, that line of thought. I mean, and I think you've explained it very well. I think that makes a lot of sense. But do you think other FMCGs or MNCs are as receptive as I think Unilever has been towards the CFA program? Do you think that's something that's going to increase not just in Pakistan but maybe globally as well, or do you think that's maybe specific just to Unilever being very supportive of the CFA program?
I think there is general receptiveness among the companies, as FMCG companies and consumers companies for CFA charter holders. For Unilever, we know that there are a lot of many CFA charter holders working in the finance teams in Unilever in Pakistan and outside Pakistan as well. There are many who are working outside of Pakistan as well within Unilever. I think the reason why Unilever took the lead in starting CFA candidate trainee program and in building the association with the program is due to the fact that the leadership finance leadership in the company strongly believes that CFA curriculum provides all the information, or a very good sound combination of topics and information to make a good financial analyst. However, other companies are also following the lead. Once the CFA candidate trainee program, for example, was started in Unilever, it was rolled out and replicated in another FMCG by us as well. And now other FMCGs are also following the suit and coming up to that. I think it is just a matter of time and about exposure. With the CFA society's activities, as other companies get involved into or get exposure to the CFA talent, or get exposure to the CFA charter holders talent, there is no reason why they wouldn't want to partner with the program to uplift the talent and use it for their benefit.
Last question for you. I understand you recently, transferred to Egypt, right? And that's where you're based out of. And you mentioned that, in the 8 roles that you've had at Unilever, you were able to use the learnings from the CFA program. So does that extend to your role now in Egypt as well? Are you able to draw on your learnings from CFA program? And did that help? Did that have any role to play in the mobility that you've just witnessed?
I think, thank you for asking this question. It has helped immensely on multiple fronts, and I will take some time to explain how. So my role in my current role, it is critical to understand the economic direction in the economy and the markets. How are they evolving? What is happening to the economy? And currently, I'm based in an economy which is very turbulent, or which is very volatile, very much similar to what we see in Pakistan these days as well. When I came here, I did not know anything about the market, and it was very difficult for me to be able to, head the performance management section here without knowing it. And I think CFA association helped me a lot with it, because I was able to connect through with using the CFA Society of Pakistan. I was able to connect with CFA societies of this region, and I was able to connect with the CFA charter holders and economists here, who did not help me settle in and understand the market, but also shared with me some very good insights and useful research, which we used for the decision making within the organization. So I think, in addition to the learning, or amazing learning which we get from the curriculum, another bigger value which we get from by becoming a CFA charter holder is that network which we get to join of global finance professionals, smart finance professionals, which helps immensely with the mobility, and which helps immensely with the settling up in any new country or any new market. Because wherever we go, we are able to find the CFA charter holders who are there, or the networks who are there to help us settle into the market, or to help us make a difference. So yes, I think it has been very helpful for me in that regard.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bilal, Nayab, Arsalan, Saad. Thanks a bunch to all of you. I think this was very useful. I think obviously I can say it was useful for me to listen to you guys, and I think certainly the audience would have benefited as well. I believe we're at the tail end of our session, so we'll quickly head over into Q&A. Florence, I believe most of the questions pertain to the CFA program itself. There's just one question that I'd quickly like to sort of take, and this is Suraksha's question of the CFA Equity Research Challenge. So, Suraksha, if you're applying, this is a university research challenge, so you'll have to go through your university, but you can obviously reach out to us at CFA Society Pakistan. Drop us an email at info@cfapakistan.org, and we'll be happy to get back to you. But in general, you have to be, enrolled in a university program and work with your faculty advisor, and you can, reach out to the relevant faculty advisor, and he or she can help you, get involved in this program. Florence, do you want to take some of the questions, or you've already answered some of them in the chat boxes, I can see?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions that I guess we can go through, and maybe asking the speakers to help us answering some of the questions very industry specific. So very generic one, I guess, what are the career prospects after completing CFA? Anyone would like to answer that? Like, I guess there's a lot of question about the prospect. Maybe I consolidate a little bit so the speaker can share their views, because we're running out of time. We only have a few minutes left. So the value of passing level 1, how the qualification help with the career as a management accountant. Yeah, so this kind of question relevant to the prospect after completing the CFA program. Any speakers have any insights or suggestion to the audience?
Bilal, maybe you can take the management accounting one if you think that maybe that coupled with the CFA program, do you think that helps? Maybe you can take that, and then of course any one of the others can take on the.
I'm
career
very sorry,
prospects.
I lost the connection in between. Can you repeat if not a problem?
So Bilal, the question was that if somebody who's interested in management accounting, or that's the career that they've chosen, if they decide to supplement that with CFA, do you think that will help?
So I think there are two aspects to it. If I have to just look at the management, cost management side, maybe CFA qualification is not that relevant. However, whenever you are starting a career in any organization, for example, let's say you started from cost management, you might not always remain in cost management. And considering the fact how the markets are evolving or how the content is evolving, you need to go to the analytical side or the analyst financial analysis side to be able to progress in the career. And I think CFA curriculum and the association with CFA will help you move or transition from the costing part once you have done to a bigger roles or to the analytical parts or to the financial analysis roles. And that is where CFA will help you. So it is not directly related to cost management, but it can help you make your career future proof and future fit to be able to get into future bigger roles or different roles.
Right, and if anybody of the other speakers would like to take the second part of the question, which is essentially career growth prospects. I mean, maybe Saad, you can take that one, because you said you started off as a research analyst, and that maybe can branch off into so many other things. So maybe a little bit of color on that.
Yeah. So yeah, I know it's really, I was thinking about it. It's really amazing how much this profession is relevant for other industries. I think we've already, through this call and through the other speakers, we've already shown that the skills that you develop in an analyst position, which is a very typical role that you have with the CFA program, and how much you can take from that role to another industry, to another department. So your job is very knowledge based. The CFA curriculum is very knowledge based. A lot of the positions that you take on, that's relevant for CFA, including analyst or fund management. A lot of it is you're persuading the audience about of your point of view, or whatever you're trying to sell, whether it's an investment idea or something else. You're persuading a lot, and you can take that skill to so many other places. And while you're working as an analyst or in the fund management team, or some of the industries that these my fellow speakers are in, you're gaining so much while in your early part of your career. So I just want to I think you can take these skills, this knowledge to many places, if not all industries, and you're relevant for a lot of places. And whatever industry you're in, you're inevitably going to decide, you're going to weigh investment opportunities or capital expenditure, and a lot of the knowledge that we have is relevant for that. But to be more specific, within an analyst would graduate on to become a head of research. So typically after 5 or 6 years of experience, having looked at various sectors, this individual, he or she, is good enough to look after a team and take that process forward, and he or she can be a head of research. After a few years, he can also transition into fund management, which is a more practical side of research, and within the financial industry, analysts or fund managers are also relevant for investment banking, private equity, consultancy. So yeah, the skill set that you develop here is relevant for a lot of places.
Thanks. I think in the interest of time, I'd probably like to club one or two questions together and maybe just ask them and before we close the session. And I think this is somebody, so a couple of people asking if they want to pursue the CFA program. They're already doing an MBA maybe, but their experience hasn't been in the investment management profession or in the finance industry. It's been, for instance, in HR, but now they're sort of tilting towards this. So can they make the change? And if so, will they have to start off from scratch, right from the bottom? Arsalan, Nayab, maybe you'd like to take this one.
I think for the HR function, I think it's not much relevant, to be honest. And unfortunately, I think the guy would have to start from scratch.
But in general, I mean, if you've, obviously, if your profession has been something else and you'd like to come into finance, I mean, how important, whether an MBA or a CFA, I mean, is that how you make that transition? How else would you do it? If anybody's got maybe Nayab, maybe your thoughts on that in general. I think Nayab can't hear me. Arsalan, sorry, any closing comments on that?
Sorry, can you just come again? I couldn't hear you.
I'm just saying that, but in general, you'd advise that you'd think that they'd have to start from scratch, that if they're changing the industry in the middle.
If it's something relevant, I think if somebody is working in the banking and especially in a role that requires analysis, so that would be an advantage. So you don't have to start from scratch like I did. I was a credit analyst at a bank. Then I became an assistant manager investments at a holding company. So it was relevant in a sense. But if he's doing HR, I don't think there's much value addition to any investment role. So he would have to start from scratch.
Understood. Thank you. Florence, if there are any questions you would like to take, or if you or Sarvat would like to make closing remarks, floor's all yours.
Yeah, I guess I can address one or two questions or asking about the working experience. Like, we basically require 4,000 relevant working experience, and it can count parallel when you're taking the exam. You don't need to accumulate those 4,000 hours after you pass level 3. Like after you take level 1, you graduate, you started to work, and you take level 2 and level 3 while you're working. Those experience, if it's relevant to investment management industry, making investment decision, that it also counts towards the 4,000. So you don't need to start counting the 4,000 after you pass level 3. I hope that answers some of the questions that raised from our audiences. And otherwise, I guess we have 5 minutes overrun, and thank you for everyone for really actively participating and asking a lot of questions. I hope you are excited about the changes in the curriculum, and if you're not, grab the chance to register for the August and November exam, which they're not being impacted. So if you want more information, definitely go to our website, and this recording will be shared with all the registrants after this webinar, so you can get access to all the email, all the website address I mentioned, and you can get access to all the details also on the CFA Institute website.
Thank you, Florence. Thank you, Raza. Thank you, everyone. Oh, thank you, all the speakers and all the guests who have joined. And we hope to continue to engage with you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks very much.